be on a bit of a lighter note. Thank you very much for the great job you and the councillors have done keeping their taxes down for the last many years. You've done a great job. A couple of points of clarification is really what I want to ask about. In the worst case scenario, you said the 2% debt service. When you define debt service, does that include reduction of the principal?
Yes.
Thank you. And secondly, you asked about homeowners as opposed to households. So my wife and I both jointly own our home. Does that mean that this amount of additional taxation would be on each of us or per household?
Yeah, there's no additional taxation on you as an existing homeowner. The $5,000 per lot is in a subdivision when the builder were to come in and said, I've got 500 lots, we'll apply the 5,000.
Sorry, I didn't express myself properly.
Sorry.
In the worst case scenario,
Oh, the worst case?
the wheels come off, everything is going down
Just the
toilet.
property.
Okay, so
We
it's
will
the
not
property,
tax
it's
you
not...
more than we tax your wife.
You won't tax us both, is what you're saying.
It's the property, it goes with the property.
Okay, finally, if that can be guaranteed, that there's no potential loss or risk to homeowners, and by the way, I came in negative to this proposal originally. I think it's an excellent proposal. I think we should go ahead.
Thank you very much. The gentleman at the back, oh, there's actually been other people who have said it too in that, but they also at the other meetings. Go ahead.
Mr. Bear, my name is Peter Baranos. I'm a resident here in Ward 1. I came to the meeting, set against the proposal, read the Toronto Star articles, read a few letters, went on the Magic website, and thought that it really wasn't going to be a good idea. I've heard what you had to say. It sounds good if what you've prepared and told us about and that staff has worked on works out. I don't think that there's a downside to it. The only problem that I have to reconcile myself with is when I go home tonight, I'm going to have to sit down and think about the opportunity cost of the $165 million that you're going to be spending on the arena and whether or not it would have been better spent elsewhere within the community, because as you know, in our ward, we're coming up right now with the issue of upgrading our sewer systems. So am I going to have to pay extra taxes on those sewer systems because you've now used $165 million that you found for another project?
Great question. I want you to appreciate the 162. Well, no, it's a great question. The 162 that we're helping to finance or facilitate, 130 million of that is coming from the special levy. And there's been buy-in. Developers don't jump up and down and say, thank you very much for bringing us some additional cost. There's been some buy-in on this. This is new money. This is not money the city was collecting before. So we met with the developers. We said, here's our vision for what we want to begin to do in the downtown area. And not unlike tonight, we explained to them it's going to be a city property on city land. It's not someone else's building. And as I said, we've collected $8 million. I think they see the correlation. They're not happy about it, but they see them putting this money out per lot because they're all going to have it in their brochure. They're all going to say this is minutes away from the new GTA Center if it gets approved. Going to the development community to say, can you pay for repairing our roads? That ain't going to happen. We would have a fight on our hands because they pay development charges for what I've talked about, the typical infrastructure. So it's not like we've said, now let's take the 162 million that was available to us and put it somewhere else. It wasn't ours to begin with until we met with the development community and said, here's our vision. And I'll tell you what the greatest concern from the development community was. Once they saw what we wanted to do and understood how it was going to work, where we got the biggest resistance was from the people who had applications currently in the city. And they said, we're weeks away from getting our building permits. We hadn't factored in the $2,000 per condo or the $5,000 per house. We've got all our financing in place. So we listened to that feedback and we went back and actually put in a transitional levy, a transitional charge of $2,500 for a new home, $1,500 for a new condo. So we listened to the industry, we went back, and as I said, all of them have paid it. But I don't want you to think we've now robbed a revenue that was coming into the city and could have used it for whatever else. There's been resistance, but I think there's also been great acceptance in that we're trying to do something that's going to add value to the products that they sell. Okay, so they're not in competition with each other. We've got a big nut to crack with the sewers because we've got to figure out a way to do it. And I want you to know, twice now, under the old infrastructure program, and what's the current program that we applied to the federal government? It's the new one. It's not very big. But anyways, it's a community improvement type of program that the feds have. Both times, I want you to know, I've insisted, and it's been supported by council, that that be the top project that we apply for funding. We're trying to find ways through programs, to help us out with that one, because that is a tough nut to crack, but it's not in competition with this money, because if I told them we're doing this to do something else, they say, wait a minute, that's what you got development charges for, that's what you got taxes for, that's what you have local improvement. The gentleman that raised the local improvement, those are the tools you use for those types of things.